my test account of Heartbeat. So there is a lot of similarities. If you've ever used anything in Circle, you'll notice that there's a lot of similarities with Circle. However, I think it's like Circle on steroids. It is a pretty new product though, so there's some things that aren't quite as polished, but given the fact that you don't need to pay $69 a month or whatever it is to use Circle, I think it's a really good alternative, and it's got some cool extra stuff that Circle doesn't have. So one of the things that I really, really love a lot is when someone comes and joins this membership area. And also, I will say, I love Kajabi, but Kajabi's community sucks, and this is a much more robust and has a lot more features and functionality. If Kajabi community changes in future, I may change my mind back, but since I've been waiting for 2 years and it hasn't done anything, I've kind of gone, taking too long, I need to be looking at other things. So I'm looking at using Heartbeat to replace Facebook groups, because Facebook groups sometimes, even in like the Unicorn Heroes group, I think we've got over 200 people in that group, and I'll put posts up and I'll be lucky if 20 people see them. So it's really tanking engagement in the groups. And I've always been a big fan of using groups because people are on the app Facebook already and they see the posts. But if they're not seeing the posts, then it kind of defeats the purpose of that reasoning behind doing it. And I've noticed, especially in the last probably 6 months, it's just dropping even further. And I've heard that from a lot of people as well. So when you first come into Heartbeat, you can go through and it will allow you to import an existing community. Helpful if you're using Slack or Circle for a community, not helpful if you're using anything else. So that skip. If you are using Zoom, connecting Zoom, definitely recommend, as I'll show you, because you can set up events. If you're using Notion, I don't use Notion, but you can connect that as well. So these channels, I'll show you in a moment. So I've created some channels. Docs are another thing. So threads are like your chat kind of channels, and then docs is where you can actually put information for your community. So it's slightly different, but I'll show you those too. Events is one of the things I really love. I actually purchased Add Event to be able to send out event links. And then I discovered this has events built in, and I was just like, oh, thank you. Because I love Add Event, but it seems crazy to be spending $25 a month on something just to send reminders for calendars, whereas this can incorporate it all together, and it does it really well. Color and logo, that's pretty standard. There's not as much as I wish you could do more. You can add a logo and you can change colors. There's no fonts or anything, but we'll get there. This is one of the things that I love the most, customized onboarding. You can actually set up an onboarding flow where someone, as soon as they join, they can answer questions, and you can add as many questions as you like. You can make them required or not required, and you can include the answer to that in their actual bio, which is really helpful because a lot of people in communities, I'm in a heap of Circle communities, and probably myself sometimes included, you just don't get around to filling in your bio. So if you put this in here, it'll automatically make a bio. And then if they don't like it, they'll be like, oh, okay, no, I'll change that. And it helps them kind of go through that integration into the community. What is really cool as well is you can automatically post their introduction and their questions into the introduction channel. So instead of saying, all right, now go and do an introduction, it can be included in that. It will sort of make it into that introduction, which is pretty cool. But it's also really helpful to be able to ask these questions right at the point when someone joins. You can A, learn some stuff about them, B, guide them to specific resources, especially if when someone joins your community, you can read their answers and then send them a DM straight away. It's a really nice way to get someone on board. And you might be like, oh, hey, I noticed that you're having trouble with your landing pages. Here's a great tutorial that might help you, whatever the situation is. I mean, that's just me being selfish, but you guys obviously won't be helping people with landing pages, but you know what I mean. And you can also ask them to include links. You can also include a video here, which is where you are showing someone a video as soon as they come in. So you're like, hey, awesome, you're here, welcome, blah, blah, blah. And you can set a code of conduct as well that you can get members to accept. So it's really nice. It's not just like that they get in there and then they have to go to the Start Here channel. They're actually right from the very first moment that they come on board, they have this. Now, what is very cool as well is say, for example, for this circle community, like I have two different, at the moment we have 3 Facebook groups, which is why Facebook is probably overwhelming me and I don't love it so much at the moment. But we have our BU group, which is for our coaching program. We've got Unicorn Heroes, which is for the Kajabi membership. And then we also have a free group as well, which is where we support people who've bought other programs and just, you know, any general support. So I would want different questions for those different situations. A BU person, I would ask completely different questions because I want to know a whole lot more about them so I could help them better, compared to someone who's joining like the free group or at a more basic level. So you can actually do different onboarding profiles for different situations. So I really like that you can have options. Okay, so that's in your onboarding. So this Kickstart thing here, once you've done this, you can, and then you can invite members in. So you can either invite them through creating links, or you can just send like this link out to people. So you can actually add people where you know, put in all their email addresses. So if you wanted to add people into the community that were already in Kajabi, you could just get that CSV export and then go add invitees and, you know, put them in and it will automatically send them out an invite. Or you can manually copy and paste that and send a broadcast email out from Kajabi to the people in there. Once you have got this set up, you can actually use Zapier to zap new members in as well. Haven't tried that out yet, but I have seen that being done. I haven't gone that far because this is only a test account, so I haven't gone and set everything up. So the other really, really cool thing is that if you did want to do like little paid events and you didn't want to set up a Kajabi checkout, you can do that through here as well. Personally, I would keep all of the payments in one place because then you keep the records in one place. So personally, I would do it through Kajabi, through the offers, and then zap them in. So with this Kickstart and with pretty much anything in that area, hang on, where are we going? Where are we going? I'll have to come back. There's another section where you can actually go into your settings. So maybe is that under here? Yes. So you can choose under your settings here, like this is, you can add a custom domain to it if you want. If you want to have like a subdomain or a custom specific domain for that, rather than heartbeat.chat / name of your community. So you can actually do it so it just goes to like community.theunicornadvisory.com, for example. You can send out a weekly digest of what's happened in the community, and you can set that to turn that on or off. You can deliver email notifications. You can set that on or off, and people can actually go in their own profile and adjust their notification settings as well. You can choose whether to show emails or not on users' profiles, whether you want people to DM each other, and you know, a few other settings in here. So one of the things that I really like is this groups. So this is why I wouldn't have 3 separate groups like we have now. You can actually create groups within Heartbeat. So for example, I've got here just some playing around ones. So I would have a BU collective and a Unicorn Heroes. So these people could be in both, or they could just be in one. So BU collective people automatically get access to Unicorn Heroes as part of BU. So I would have a separate area just for BU people, and that would also mean that you can then, if you're doing events, you could just invite people in one program, not everybody. So it allows you to do tiered access and different levels of access to different parts of your community area. So you don't have to have 3 separate communities. You can have one and different people see more than others. So I do really like that, because especially if you're running multiple programs or you're offering support for like workshops for a short period of time or something like that, you're not having to do it in a whole new group and a whole new thing. So that is pretty cool. So this is, I think that's groups. I think that's the same thing. Oh no, that's me personally. Okay, so that is some of the stuff. So in your actual sort of main area, this is where it looks a little bit like circle. One thing that they do, which isn't, you aren't able to choose whether you want it on or off, is who's online. That can be really helpful though if you've got lots of people, because anyone can click. Like if someone's like, oh cool, Sue's online, they can click on that. It'll tell me where I am, and it shows the bio, and I have feeling you might be able to, I have to check that. I haven't checked that. I'm sure I saw somewhere that if you saw them, that you could say, send them a message like a DM or something like that. And I've got the email turned on so it can copy it. So I think I would probably turn emails off and let people give out their emails if they wanted to, rather than having that as default. But this is showing what I'm doing on site at the moment. So if you wanted to be like, oh, hey, and so say, for example, when we come down here, if we were in a voice chat room or in the text chat. So say if I was in the text chat, you could come in here and it will show that I'm chatting. So you could click on chatting and come and join me. Or if I was in a voice or a video chat, you can come and join me. So this text and voice chat is one of the things that isn't available on most of the other community programs that I've seen. I'm in a circle group and there's a separate chat on another app, and it's like, it's kind of good, but then I'm like, oh, it's all in two places. Do I reply on the chat app or do I reply in the circle community? And it's a little bit tricky. So this kind of allows you to do both. So you have your typical like threaded questions where there's threads. I'll just show you an example. So the threads, like this one's, so these are all basically, you create these different like sections for places, people to go. And with any of the threads, you can pin them. So specific ones are at the top. And Kate was asking about how to integrate things with Kajabi. So I'm still going to go and play around with that a bit more. But when you first go into the app on your phone, because there is an Android and an iOS app, it will default to going to the first room underneath your first category. So that's this announcements. So I have just played around with pinning a post here. So if you did want to go to your course content, you can just click on that and it will take you back through to Kajabi. And then from Kajabi, it'll have to click back in here. The only thing is that there are two different logins, which isn't as perfect and ideal, but that I'm still going to play around with and see if there is anything that can make that better. Circle has the same issue because there is no SSO single sign-on like link between the two at the moment. So that will always be a little bit of an issue, and there's no sort of place to add anything into the header either, which is why I would suggest to link to that in here in that first room that they go to. You could potentially also add another sort of thread area, which is where you actually link to specific posts, and you could add into your announcements if you release, like say you, Carol, if you're doing your monthly membership and you do that membership drop, you could be like, hey, you know, the new content for the month is out, and then you could actually have, you know, an area that was to discuss that month's content and have the chats, you know, going in there, and then you could pin at the top where to actually go to the lessons, so that that always stays at the top, and then all the other threads will go underneath. And then in the threads, you know, this is a little bit similar to things like Slack and to how Circle works. You can add comments and replies. You can add GIFs in there. The GIFs aren't as great as some of the other GIFs. Like, oh no, it's powered. Yeah, so you can just do a search for your for your GIFs, and you can do actual like little emoji reactions as well. In this one here, I gave an example where I also included a poll. So it's really easy if you're creating a post, if you're starting a thread, you can add in a poll as well as other stuff in there too. And you can make it anonymous or not anonymous and put options in. So that's kind of cool. And this, for example, was an announcement about when I was going, oh, let's do a Q&A. So you can actually link to something else from within. So if you go into your announcements, like if you go into events, it'll be under events, but if you just want to make sure that people see it and they don't miss it in events, you can actually link through and say they can click onto that and it will take them straight through into the event. Now, events, again, is something that I really, really think is pretty cool, and they're doing this well. I'll need to actually try it out. So you guys will probably be my guinea pigs, and the next time that we do this, instead of doing it directly in Zoom, I might try and set it up so that we do it through here. So when you create an event, actually I'll go into one that I've already done. So this is today's event. You can put an image in the background. Oh, it's saying it's ended. Oops. Hang on, we might go back and do this one because this one hasn't started yet. So you can make an image for each one. This one I've made an external event. I've just linked it to the Zoom room, but you can connect your Zoom up and have it link, or there is an option to just do it as a video call within the app. Now, the downside of doing it as a video call within the app is that it doesn't record the session. So if you have it in here, it does mean though that if someone's in the app, this little reminder came up. Did it come up? Oh, it's already gone. It came up saying your call is happening in 15 minutes. So I set some reminders on the call. So if someone was in the app or they had their notifications turned on, they would get it. But when someone actually RSVPs to the event, you can set it up so it sends out reminders. So there's none of this whole having to schedule reminders. And I'm sure Gina is going to be so happy because she has to, at the start of every month, set up all the reminders for all the different calls and everything like that. So you can actually have it so that, and I think it's kind of nicer as well, so that someone can choose to RSVP, which means they'll get the reminders rather than getting every reminder for every event, even if they're not planning on showing up. So I think that will be something that's really nice. So people can RSVP to that. So you can change your image, you can add whatever content that you want in here and link to it. And if there is an announcement, you can do it so it's very easy for someone to link, and also they'll get the link in the reminder emails that go out as well. So those I have to test and see what they are like, but I'm feeling kind of pretty good about that, because at the moment we're using a Google Calendar and we send out those manual broadcasts in Kajabi for the reminders. And I know, Kate, you were asking about that a few months back, and I think this is a really nice solution because people can choose to RSVP, and if they RSVP, it will add it to their calendar and they'll get the reminders, and if they don't, then it won't. So I would probably still back it up by sending out like a monthly upcoming or a weekly sort of, this is what's happening this week. Please make sure to RSVP so that people can get that, just to get them into the habit in the beginning. But I think it would be really nice to be able to have people customize their own, reminders and things, and then you'll know how many people are going to show up to the call. So, that's also nice as well. You can make the events public. So I'll show you in here. So we're going to go create an event. So let's just call this test. And we can put in you can either do it so that you use the Heartbeat room, or you do a custom, which is I just did the Zoom link, or if you have your Zoom connected, then you can just link up to a Zoom ring. So I'll just put something in for now. So, and you can choose which groups that you want. So you can actually go through and invite everyone. You could invite just Unicorn Heroes, for example. Like this one I just have got set for BU Collective, but if I didn't want that, I could just change it and make it all users, or we could make it a Unicorn Heroes event. So that way you're only inviting the people that are associated. So you can actually invite and send out the invite to everybody to RSVP through here, which is pretty cool. You can make it a public event. So if you wanted to make it like a webinar or some kind of open Q&A session, then that's a really cool way that you can do that as well. And you can do this feedback request afterwards. And you can, if you have your Stripe set up, make it a paid event. So you could do that for some kind of a workshop or something. So we're going to go in here, and this is where you can choose your notification. So you can make it so that invited users automatically get it added to their calendar, or you can do it so that after they RSVP, it's added to their calendar, or you don't send any email. So I would probably go for this. And, I've got 3 reminders set up. That might be a little bit of overkill. You might just want to, play around with how many reminders is appropriate. And you can choose whether or not they get those reminders or not. So, those sort of things have me very excited, especially, managing multiple calls and things like that. One of the things that I do think is very cool about Heartbeat is this matchup feature. So you can actually go in and connect your members together, which is really cool. So you can manage who is going to be part of this. So it might be a case where you actually say, hey, if you want to be involved in the matchups, let me know. And then you go and add people in there. And then you can go and choose whether you want groups of 2 or 3 and who will be in it. And you can change, you can change the details. And basically it's a way for you to hook two members up together. So whether they choose to go and do it is up to them, but you're kind of initiating it by like being, hey, do you want an accountability partner, or something like that, which I think is really great for community, and it's hard to instigate without having some of this kind of tech in the background. And it will give you a sample template that you can use, and basically this is the email that will go out to people once you go start matchups. And you can make it so that it happens once a week, every 2 weeks, once a month, like, so it can be like a, do you want an accountability partner this week or this month, or whatever the situation is. I like how they've put this as a favor, have your chat through Heartbeat. I'm suspecting that was the Heartbeat founder that wrote that. So you don't need to do that. They can set that up however they want. You can just give people suggestion, do you want it to do it through Zoom, or if you want, you could just do it straight here on the app. And giving them some ideas to kickstart is really helpful as well. So that is pretty cool. And analytics are very helpful. So you can see how many users are actually doing threads, how many people are DMing, how many users are reading documents, voice calls, directories, how long did it take for users to engage, and then are they using it on website, mobile, or the desktop app? So that helps you to be like, hey, if 90% of people are using this on mobile, then making sure that whatever you're doing is going to be mobile first is really helpful. And if there was specific times, so you can choose for lurking or engagement, and top active users, like that's really cool, because you might want to call out your top active users and be like, hey, thanks so much, you've been such a valuable part of the community. Also seeing which channels have had the most activity is really helpful, and top threads. So you're like, oh, that one worked really well, let's do more of that, because it had people doing it. And you can also see, how many times users were logging in, how many views that things are had. And we've, as well as our like chat threads, you've also got these docs. And docs is basically, they've given you some resources here, which is like your code of conduct. If you had, like I've added one in here, accessing your course content, like giving people instructions. And the helpful thing as well is you can upload files in here as well. You can add video content. The only thing into these docs, the only thing with adding videos is it doesn't host the video. So you will need to have your video hosted. I've tried using it, both YouTube and Loom. I think I've got it in here. I've got it in here. I have it here. No, where did I put it? Oh my gosh, now I've got to remember where I put it. Maybe in Take a Tour. Yes. Okay. So you just basically put in the YouTube link or the Loom link, and then that will show preview the video, so someone can just play the video. So you're not actually hosting anything video wise in the platform. You're just hosting it elsewhere and linking it so that it shows up. Whereas with your docs, it's less about the chat and more about, here's some helpful information, and if someone wants to ask about it, they can ask about it. And last but not least, we have got courses. So they do have a courses area. I have had a look at it in a little play. I would probably not use it. I would use Kajabi. However, if you were like, wanting to get an absolute minimum viable and you didn't have Kajabi, then I think this could be a good way to perhaps maybe start a course. But within your courses, you have basically got a text area where you can put videos. So this is me doing a YouTube video, and then same thing with a Loom video, and someone marks it as completed. So that's kind of, what you're doing. You're just basically creating it's the equivalent of a thread or something like that, and you're just loading your videos up into it. But it's a way to house your content if you didn't have another option. Personally, I won't be using the courses area. And the really cool thing is when we go into our apps, we can choose to turn that off, and it will disappear out of the side. And if it's same, if we didn't want to use events, if we didn't want to have the matchups or this kickstart, once we've done it, we can take it off, so we can choose what we have over here, which of the features that you want to use. So that is my little run through of the Heartbeat app. I hope it's helpful, and if you've got any questions, let me know.